Hello everyone. Let's discuss this question which has come in the GS3 paper of UPSC 2025. We're talking about GS3 mains. This question is from Indian economy. Let's see the question first. The question is that we have to distinguish between the Human Development Index, that is HDI, and the Inequality-Adjusted IHDI with special reference to India. Now, students should note it down. They should clearly understand this, that the question is not about difference between IHDI and HDI in general. All right, you don't have to distinguish between IHDI and HDI. Hamara question hai, our question is that we have to differentiate them with special reference to India. So if you write general points between difference between IHDI and HDI, you won't get marks. If you write with special reference to India, then you would surely get marks. Second part of the question. Second part of the question is that we have to tell why is IHDI considered a better indicator of inclusive growth. So let's move to the question. Let's move to the answer. Now, before moving to the actual answer, first understand a few things. First, we'll have to understand the context of the question. Then we'll do an analysis, and then we'll move on to the structure of the question. Let me make it a little bit okay. Now, if we see the context of the question, context is I'm saying that it is static in nature. Why am I considering the question to be static in nature? Reason is inclusive growth. It is a very, very important part of the syllabus. This topic has been mentioned in the syllabus, and every year there would be one question from inclusive growth in the mains exam. They would connect, the examiner will collect, the UPSC will connect inclusive growth to multiple dimensions. Sometimes it will ask inclusive growth and financial inclusion. It may ask inclusive growth and market economy, inclusive growth and sustainability, inclusive growth and government initiatives. So this time it has connected to one more dimension. It has connected inclusive growth to one more dimension, that is Inequality-Adjusted Human Development Index. So continuation of various dimensions of inclusive growth. And why do I consider it to be contemporary in nature? I consider it to be contemporary in nature because World Bank in its report in 2025, it has mentioned that inequality has reduced in India. So it's quite possible that UPSC has taken inclusive growth as a static part and this report by World Bank as another part and has just clubbed these questions. Quite possible. So that's the context of the question, why the question is being asked. Let's move to the analysis part of the question. When I say analysis, we have to find out whether the question was solvable or not. Now, if we see the first part of the question is difficult in nature because we have to differentiate between HDI and IHDI with special focus on India, with special reference to India, and for comparison, we would require data. And it's difficult to find relevant data during exam time. Very, very difficult to find out. All right, so this part is difficult. Second part, I would say, is moderate in nature. Why it's moderate in nature? Because once you understand what is IHDI and you know what is inclusive growth, then you can connect these two. वो problem नहीं है. The second part is moderate in nature. First part was difficult in nature, but if you see the overall answer to this question, students will not get the answer to this question in their class notes. So the students, they are saying that coaching institutions are not giving this dimension. No one would give it. You won't find the content of this in class notes, in your reference book, in monthly magazines. You may get some data in newspaper, but you'll have to pick up that data. All right. So for example, you may know about what is India's HDI, the number I'm talking about. You may know what is India's life expectancy, India's literacy rate. So you would know these data from somewhere, but you'll have to all these data have to put together to answer this question. So overall, this question is of a moderate difficulty level question. All right. Then let's talk about structure of the question. When I say structure of the question, it means I'm telling you how would the answer look like. So first we'll be writing introduction, and we know it very well that in introduction we can write definition and we can give data. In this case, what exactly we'll be writing, I will be coming on to it in the next slide. Then first part of the question, we have to differentiate between HDI and IHDI with special reference to India. Second part of the question, we have to also tell why IHDI is a better parameter for measuring inclusive growth. The question hasn't asked about the limitations of IHDI, but we'll just write some points about limitations of IHDI, and then way forward we'll have to tell how can we make IHDI better or how can we connect IHDI to inclusive growth. और से सबका साथ सबका विकास. Now let's move to the answer of the question. If I talk about introduction, in introduction we can give definition. You know that thing, right? So in this case we can give a definition of HDI and IHDI, that these are indices given by UNDP to measure human development in a country. We can also give the definition of inclusive growth, that growth process which includes all sections of society. So that is, we can give definition of these two, either of these, only one, either this or this. Don't have to give definitions of both of them because we have to answer in 150 words only. We do not have that much of word limit with us. Other way to introduce is we can give data. So we can give data in this case, that India's rank in HDI, Human Development Report, that's a better word, not HDI. We have to tell India's rank in Human Development Report. Other way to give introduction is we give a cause of the question. So in this case, we can tell that as per World Bank's report of 2025, inequality has reduced in India. That's it. Because it's just 150 word question. So we have to write very, very, very crisp introduction. Let's now move to the body part. Now, if I talk about body part, let's come to that part. If I talk about body, we have to tell difference between HDI and IHDI in Indian context. First, we'll differentiate in terms of overall score. India's HDI score is 0.685. India's IHDI score is 0.475. So it actually clearly shows that India's IHDI is lower than India's HDI. That means inequality exists in India. And the difference between these two, IHDI and HDI, the difference between these two, it actually tells what is the loss in human development due to inequality. So for 0.475 is 30% less than 0.685. So we can tell that there is a loss of 30% in human development due to inequality in the country. All right. This is the comparison regarding overall score. Let's move to further parameters for their distinguishing. We'll be distinguishing each and every indicator. So first we come on to per capita income. Look, India's per capita income is $9,000 as PPP exchange rate. But that doesn't mean that complete India, all Indian states, they are having a per capita income of around $9,000. There will be some variation also. And this variation is captured by IHDI. For example, some states like Bihar, their per capita income is just 40% of national average. And some states like Delhi, they are rich states and their per capita income is 180% of national average. This comparison between two states can be done only through IHDI. Then let's move to the next part. Then next parameter of HDI, that is schooling or education. Now, what does IHDI do? It measures gender discriminations in literacy rate. We may say India's literacy rate is 70%, 75%, but that doesn't mean that both male and female literacy rate is 75%. India's male literacy rate is higher, female literacy rate is lower. So disparity exists over here, inequality exists over in this case. Then we talk about life expectancy. India's life expectancy is 72 years, but there is a variation. There is an inequality in this case in terms of region as well as gender variations. There is a difference between life expectancy, difference in life expectancy from region to region. Difference as per gender also, difference as per cities also. So there is inequality in terms of life expectancy, which is measured by IHDI, and it is due to these inequalities only that India's IHDI is lower than India's HDI. The next part of the question is that why is IHDI a better indicator of inclusive growth? First reason is because it captures inequality within development outcomes. When I say within development outcomes, what does it mean? Look, India may be doing good in education, in health, in life expectancy, but it gives us an average number. That India's life expectancy is 72. That India's literacy rate is 75. It doesn't tell about. So basically, what HDI does, it just tells our average achievement. It does not show any disparities with respect to gender, with respect to region, with respect to states, with respect to cities. And this disparity, it is actually measured through IHDI only. So IHDI, it tells the actual distribution of benefits and doesn't just tell about the average achievement. Is it okay? Then second reason why IHDI is a better indicator of inclusive growth is it tells about long-term sustainability of growth. Now, how does it tell about long-term sustainability of growth? It's quite possible that a country has high growth rate, but that country has high inequality also. So how do we know whether the country will be able to sustain that growth rate or not? Now you see this. If a country has high inequality, then the country's demand of goods would go down. The demand would go down, therefore, the production would also go down. The demand goes down, therefore, investment also goes down. Investment goes down, therefore, jobs also go down. Jobs go down, therefore, demand also goes down. So what happens is, demand goes down, hence production goes down, hence employment goes down, and hence demand further goes down, and we get into a vicious cycle where demand and production continues to go down, and that's why this growth rate, it cannot be sustained over a period of time. This growth becomes very, very unsustainable in nature. So if a country has inequality, that country would have unsustainable economic growth. We cannot measure it through HDI. We can measure it through IHDI only. So IHDI highlights this imbalance, and therefore it is a better guide for policy correction. If we are making a mistake in policy, we should be doing policy correction based on IHDI and not HDI. Next. Why it is a better parameter? It's a better parameter because it helps us in cross-country comparison. It's quite possible that two countries, they have similar HDI value. For example, India and Bangladesh. For both of them, their rank is 130. Their index is same. But India's IHDI is 0.475. Bangladesh IHDI is 0.482. India's IHDI is lower. It means India has more inequality or Bangladesh has more equality. Then let's talk about some issues with IHDI. What are the issues with IHDI? First is it has a limited scope. It measures inequality in education, health, education, income, but it doesn't measure inequality, doesn't have any concern about environment or social justice, doesn't mention about them. It is of static nature. How is it of static nature? It shows how much is the inequality at any point in time. What is the inequality in 2025, inequality in 2023? It doesn't tell how much has been the change over a period of time, how much has been the growth over a period of time, how much has been the reduction in inequality over a period of time. Similarly, inter-country comparability is difficult because data methods are different for different countries. Cultural differences are also there between countries. Therefore, very difficult to compare the IHDI of different countries. Then last is we have to talk about the way forward. In way forward, we can connect IHDI with other indicators like MPI and GHI. So we can say that if we have to achieve holistic assessment, then IHDI should be complemented with other indices like MPI and GHI. We can also give one more way forward where we can say that multi-dimensional approach is required, and then only we'll be able to get Sabka Saath and Sabka Vikas. We can do these things. So for conclusions, we can use these terms: Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, make India Viksit Bharat by 2047, achieve India's SDG goals. All right. So we can use all these things for way forward. That's it with the discussion of this question. We'll come with more question. We'll come up with discussion of more answers. All right. Stay tuned. See you. Thanks.